welcome to both of you. Really good warm-up we did there with the power breathing. I hope that's prepared you for this. So let's dive straight in then, shall we, to what we're going to do today, which is the 3 of the 12 pathways to higher awareness. This, just a bit of brief background. I came across this over a decade ago. It was created by a guy called Ken Keyes. He was a US spiritual teacher, lived in the sort of 60s, 70s, came up with something called the Living Love Method. And there was no copyright on it. No one was like saying they owned it. Said, well, pretty much when he died, no one took it over. No one took this up and sort of made it into some kind of ongoing organization. So I found this great stuff and I was like, well, wow, like why isn't this being taught and used? It's really good. It really synergizes with the course's message, but it's framed in the language of a more modern language. So you'll see that he talks about like the mind as a computer. Given that era, the 60s and 70s, that was when we were just sort of going into all that, computers, and so he uses that sort of to teach it, but based on these same principles, based on principles of mindfulness, which goes back to Buddhism, and so on. It's part of that whole emergence of mindfulness that happened in the 60s and the 70s in the US, and then spread worldwide. Okay, so having said that, let me share my screen. I'll just dive into it. 12 pathways to higher awareness. So the first ones, we'll just do the first 3. I'm freeing myself from security, sensation, and power addictions. Maybe if you can read the first one, Archie. Elaine, read the second, you read the third, and then we'll dive into each one. You're muted, Archie, just so you know.
Sorry, freeing myself. 1, I'm freeing myself from security, sensation, and power addictions that make me try to forcefully control situations in my life and so destroy my serenity and keep me from loving myself and others.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that just now. Elaine, number 2, leads on from number 1.
I am discovering how my consciousness dominating addictions create my illusory version of the changing world of people and situations around me.
And Archie, number 3.
Yep, 3. I welcome the opportunity, even if painful, that my moment-by-moment experience offers me to become aware of the addictions I must reprogram to be liberated from my robot-like emotional patterns.
Yeah, so nice. This is foundational stuff. In the yogic teachings, they would call this yama and niyama. You're starting to free yourself from unhealthy practices. It's the abstentions and it's the observances. You might start breathing regularly or doing a practice like yoga, and then you abstain from things that aren't helpful. So using substances inappropriately, drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, food, etc., which you use to create your illusory version of the changing world of people and situations around you. So some quite profound understanding going in here. So and he's grouped it in 4 different groups. So the first stage is sort of fundamental, the foundation, pathways 1 to 3, where you need to free yourself from the addictions. Right? So as he's saying, an addiction is a program or an operating instruction. You see again the computer language coming through to your biocomputer that triggers uncomfortable emotional responses and excites your consciousness if the world does not fit the program pattern in your mind. Right? So you're going, this is my expectation, this is my program, this is what I expect. Oh, reality is not happening that way. Now I get upset. The program gets upset. I get upset because I've identified with the program. I think I'm the program. And then, essentially I'm addicted to whatever that program is. The identifying characteristic in addiction is that if your desire is not fulfilled, you respond emotionally in a robot-like way and automatically play out a program of anger, worry, anxiety, jealousy, fear, and any of the many other negative emotions, right? You see it in children. I told you about the experience I had with my son. Trigger, response, right? They haven't learned the emotional self-regulation yet. So something triggers them and they bang, they're into anger, fear, anxiety, whatever, and the reaction just comes. As adults, many adults haven't learned that, but almost the adult mature consciousness says, I'm no longer programmed by all of these triggers and addictions. I'm able to self-regulate and let these things go so that they don't trigger me in ways that they used to. And then he says, adds in finally, that which you emotionally avoid is just as much an addiction as is something you desire. Okay, so that's the craving and aversion, right? Buddhism 101. You crave, you desire, and that causes suffering. And another part of craving is aversion, which says, I don't want this. I'm trying to avoid this. Which then is another craving. I need for this not to happen, otherwise I'm upset. Another version of craving. The Buddha identified all of this, and it's in the Noble Truths of Buddhism. But the beauty of these teachings is they take that and they put it into a modern context in a format which people can understand and learn from. And that's all mindfulness is. It's just the ancient teachings reformatted in a different way, so people, oh, okay, wow, this is amazing. This is all amazingly new age. Nonsense. It's all ancient. It's been going thousands of years. It's just been reformatted and now rebranded. So instead of Buddhism and Vipassana and Anapanasati, it's called mindfulness breathing. So the same thing, right? I only learned this when I actually did the Vipassana retreat. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing really actually extraordinary here. It's just mindfulness, but this is the roots of it. This is the foundation. This is where it came from. So that's what happened in the 60s and 70s. These guys pulled from the ancient wisdom traditions, and then they just rebranded it, changed the language for a modern audience, so that it becomes relevant. And I think he's done a really good job. The language suits the times. It's still very relevant. We still live in a very tech-driven society. So the idea that it's an operating program, the Matrix, who knows? The Matrix, the writers are probably inspired by this kind of stuff to go, yeah, okay, it's all like an operating system. And so it's like we plugged into a giant computer program. And how do you free yourself from that? We've just done a powerful breathing practice that's one of the ways that you can do that. Okay, so first pathway. Archie, if you can read that. The first one again, and then we'll just take turns reading the alternates, the paragraphs that describe it.
Yeah, okay. So I am freeing myself from security, sensation, and power addictions that make me try to forcefully control situations in my life, and so destroy my serenity and keep me from loving myself and others.
Yeah. So the security, sensation, and power addictions, first three chakras, security, base chakra. Second is all about sensation. Third is all about power. And these are, the addictions we have that make us want to control life. And when we try and control life, we're not in flow, and we destroy our peace of mind, and we stop loving other people because now we're just trying to manipulate them to get the state that we think we want.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay. So Elaine, if you can read the next one, as long as you have addictions.
As long as you have addictions, your exquisite computer, your mind, will be dominated by the vain attempt to help you find happiness through manipulating the world around you into fitting your addictions. A mind dominated by addictions is not able to tune into the finer vibrations of surrounding people and things. just as a drummer who plays too loudly can keep you from hearing the violins and flutes of a symphony. Addictions are not evil or bad, they just cost you too much in lost perceptiveness, wisdom, effectiveness, and happiness.
Yeah. So thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, yes, very true.
I think we all recognize the truth. So anyone who's really addicted to something is dysfunctional. They can't tune in to what's on a subtler level. Remember once I had a lady who came to one of my retreats, and she literally 4 days before she'd been snorting cocaine. That's what she told me. And she'd come to try but she was in no position. She was still way too addicted to be able to understand and practice what I was teaching. So one little breathing, like literally breath watching, and she's already freaking out. I'm going, okay, this is just like warm up. This is like base level. But her mind couldn't handle it, so she ran away the next day. And then I realized, yeah, okay, so that's why you have to have special treatment for serious addicts, because they can't function on the same level as a normal person. Just little bit of breathing, and her obviously her ego is reacting massively to that. So addictions always cause unhappiness sooner or later. If you want to read that, watch.
Yeah, so addictions always cause unhappiness sooner or later. Preferences never do. When an addiction is not satisfied, you feel upset or unhappy. When an addiction is satisfied, you feel momentary pleasure, relief, or indifference. When a preference is not satisfied, you simply feel indifferent. It was only a preference after all, but when it is satisfied, it adds to the richness and beauty of your life.
So quite an important distinction, right? Yes, we want to have preferences. Do you prefer tea? Do you prefer coffee? But an addiction is like, I have to have this. I need this. I want this. If I don't get it, then I get triggered. I get upset. I get angry. I do things and I say things that I don't really want to do. That's the difference. Preference, like, well, okay, I prefer to do this, or I prefer to have this, but if I don't have it, it's not really that big deal. I can just let it go. Preference means you can let it go. Addiction or attachment means you can't. It means that you will emotionally react. And it's very important to be honest with yourself and say, well, is this an addiction or is it just a preference? And the intensity of your emotional reaction when you don't get it will tell you what it is. If it's like, well, easy come, easy go, I'm not really bothered, it's a preference. But if you react and you go, okay, I can feel that I'm upset and I'm getting frustrated or I'm getting angry and I want to project that out, usually blame someone, attack someone or something, then it's an addiction. And that's not helpful. It's not going to help you stay peaceful and happy. As you said, that's going to cost you your happiness in the end, because sooner or later your addiction isn't going to be satisfied. It's never going to happen all the time. And then you're going to suffer. And then you're going to try and manipulate reality to get what you want. And then you become a manipulative, abusive person, because everything and everyone must now suit you and must organize itself around you. And it's not a recipe for happiness or peace or love or joy or anything. It's just a recipe for unhappiness. So it's vital, I'll read this one, vital that you fully understand that authentic spiritual growth lies solely in reprogramming your automatic emotional programming. It's not necessarily aimed at changing your external actions, right? So it's the inner change. It's changing the inner state rather than the outer state. So it's too many teachings focus on behavior, change your behavior. No, change your mental and emotional programming, the inner state, and then the external will change automatically, because what changes the internal, what motivates, inspires the external is the internal. They're connected. So inside out rather than outside in. So you can do anything as you prefer, as long as you're not addicted to it. Okay, so you want to have a glass of wine because it's nice, fine, but be really vigilant and know, like, yeah, easy come, easy go. Not if you have to have that glass of wine every night, then you're addicted. You can't have a meal without it. And if you don't have it, then you're feeling, somewhat upset. Then it's like, hang on, that's more than a preference. That's an addiction.
Mm.
It's only your own inner emotional programming that must be changed. The wonderful thing is that it's fully within your ability to do so, whereas up to now you may have been hopelessly trying to manipulate the outside world to conform to your addiction. So that's what the ego is always trying to do. I need to get what I want, so I'm going to manipulate people, places, circumstances, and events to try and suit me. And then you become quite a manipulative, toxic kind of person. And everyone's like, oh, okay, there you are doing your program again, trying to get something from me. And I know that that's what you're trying to do. And so you'll tend to get a pushback. And people will go, because people aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you come from a place of not being addicted, and it's just a preference, you can say, hey, I don't really need anything particularly. So I can just be peaceful, calm, happy, loving, giving, because like I'm fine as I am. I don't have all these wants and needs. So foundational, basic, first pathway, start with that. Free yourself. And he says, I'm freeing myself. So it's a process. You don't free yourself overnight, but it's a process. One of the most easiest ways of freeing yourself is by breathing, right? A breathwork practice can help you to start letting go of those security, sensation, and power addictions by accessing a different part of your mind, which is why it's the foundation of Buddhism. Anapanasati was just a breath watching process where you would watch your security, sensation, and power addictions as they arose in the body and just not react to them. So I'm just not gonna respond or react to these as I normally do, and then they start to dissipate. Okay, so you're starting to see how it all ties together, right? This is the teachings, the theory ties in with the practices, and you see, okay, the practices are exactly designed to help you to do this. Okay, and then second pathway, I'm discovering how my consciousness dominating addictions create my illusory version of the changing world of people and situations around me. Okay, so this is about observing what's happening around you and how these addictions affect that. So Elaine, if you want to read that, number 2, we perceive things not as they are, but as we are.
We perceive things not as they are, but as we are. Every addiction distorts your effective processing of the enormous flow of information that is continually flooding in through all your sensory inputs and both conscious and unconscious levels. Your programmed addictions determine your experience of the world, for they are the guides that your reticular activating system, i.e., your ego or separate self-concept, uses to determine which data will be suppressed and which can go into your consciousness and command full attention.
Yeah, so any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that. So they're saying that your reticular activating system is your ego. Is that what it's saying? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just a fancy word for the ego, but the reticular activating system is what you pay attention to and what you don't.
Mm.
So why do some people notice something, and for some people some things are a massive trigger, and for others they're not bothered.
Mm.
The same situation, the same experience. Well, that's your reticular activating system, i.e., what pushes your buttons, if you want to put it
Yeah.
into
Okay.
or what gets you excited, or what moves you in any way, and that's different for different people,
Mm.
because they have a different program running them. So not everyone responds the same way because the program is different. They've got different variations of the ego program, which is a separated self concept that says I am this,
Mm.
right? So I like this and I don't like this.
So how can you influence your reticular activating system then?
Well, through spiritual practice.
Yeah. Okay.
So breathing starts to go, okay, if I breathe and I'm just finding this state of calm and peace, and I'm not reacting to my thoughts and emotions, I'm just observing those. And instead of reacting to them, I'm just focusing on my breath and letting all of that go by instead focusing on my breathing. That is going to unprogram those programs. You start to remove the programming
Yeah.
systematically and progressively. And so
Yeah.
that's why these techniques are so powerful. That's why, like Anapanasati, which is the Buddhist technique of breath work, is so powerful because he's saying this is how you unprogram yourself from the
Mm.
ego's program, just by
Mm.
simple practice of breath watching. And then you take it to the next level where you focus on the sensations in the body. And what the Buddha understood was that sensations in the body are the best way to observe your emotions.
Yeah. But isn't the reticular activating system a part of our biology, though? How we're sort of wired
Well,
biologically to notice certain things
but
and
the
not
mind
others?
is in control of all
Yeah.
of it. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So
Yeah.
this is the mind body split. So science tells you that it's part of our body and your mind has no control of the body. But
Mm.
these teachings are saying no, the mind is in control of all of it. Why? Because the body is the projection of the mind. What created the body? The mind created the body.
Mm.
So it's all happening within the framework of mind or consciousness. And so you start changing your mind, you
Mm.
start changing the body.
Yeah. But it can work the other way as well, can't it? That you can work at on things at a body level that can also then influence your mind. So it's a
Yeah,
two-way thing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
do it both ways. So if
Yeah.
you have a look at where are we? This one, integral model. I think we did cover this the other night.
Yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
see, it works both ways. You've got
Yeah.
subjective internal experience that affects the objective external experience in your body.
Mm.
But when you change things here and you see those external effects, or you change your behavior, it also has an influence on the mind. It feeds
Yeah.
back. And now you use that either negatively or positively.
Yeah.
So if you start doing positive emotional positive state regulating practices like breathing, you start
Mm.
becoming calmer, more peaceful. That starts rewiring your body. So now the
Yeah.
neural pathways of fight or flight response get start getting undone, and you start finding that you can be calmer, less stressed, and so
Mm.
on. And you see those bodily changes. Cortisol, adrenaline drops,
Yeah.
hormones change. Your whole system is rewiring itself into the pattern that's created by the mind. And now a physical practice like breath work
Mm.
then feeds back into the mind. And you say, okay, so
Yeah.
I do the practice and then I start to be able to change my state using the practice. So it's important that you realize that there's a synergy here. And if you use this correctly, as these spiritual practices help you to do, then you get this working for you. There's a positive feedback loop. It starts
Yeah.
happening. You start spiraling outwards. You start raising your consciousness from, say, a very body oriented, maybe then more mind oriented. And then you start going into more soul and ultimately spirit, which is pure formless awareness, which is beyond any limitations.
Yeah.
And all these practices are designed to take you on that journey, which
Mm.
we'd call the journey of awakening or enlightenment, to ultimately get to full self-realization where you realize, but I just am this empty, spacious awareness, and there
Mm.
are no programs that define me anymore. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not programmed in any way, shape, or form. I'm just this pure awareness, and I can respond appropriately in the moment. But coming from that guidance of the pure awareness, I
Mm.
respond to whatever I need to do. So I'm not
Yeah.
programmed anymore, and that is the most powerful state you can be in, because you there's no limit on you anymore. You don't have these set pre-programmed patterns
Yeah.
anymore. Then you become the Christ, the avatar, who's able to do extraordinary things in the world because you don't have any of those programs. That's why Morpheus said to Neo in the Matrix, he says, you will be more powerful than them because they operate within a construct of rules and
Mm.
laws, and none of those actually apply to you.
Mm.
Ultimately, when you realize who you are, you go beyond all that, which is why they will never be as strong and fast as you. So yeah, so we'll do the Matrix um,
Mm.
as
So,
part of it.
so self-actualization and self-realization are the same thing? Self-awareness, self-actualization. Yeah.
We'll get into that as well, but
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
self-actualization tends to be more, okay, I'm going to become the best version of my ego,
Ah,
and
okay.
then self-realization takes it to a transcendent level. So
Yes. Okay.
if you
Yeah.
understand Maslow's model,
Yeah.
so
That's.
he had a second version of that model which he published just before his death,
Mm.
which was added 3 different levels above self-actualization.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
you you
Interesting.
had the aesthetic
Yeah.
level, and at the very top you had the transcendent level.
Right.
So transcendent awareness, where you went into this pure awareness beyond limits. And he obviously, through his own learning, had discovered that this was a state of mind that was
Mm.
possible, and self-actualization was part of that process, but it
Right.
wasn't the final, wasn't the
Okay.
end game.
Interesting.
Unfortunately,
Mm.
most
Yeah.
of Maslow's the teachings get taught on the 5 level rather than the 8 level.
Yes. Well, that's the only level. Those are that. It's for me that pyramid and self-actualization is the top of that is what I was aware of. I wasn't aware
Yeah.
of the other
Yeah,
other
he
levels.
went further, but
Yeah.
a
Okay.
lot of people aren't aware of that because
Yeah.
if you look at the world and what's happened in history, you see that people have attained these transcendent states. So you can't
Mm.
ignore it out of any model. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, Jesus, the Buddha, they went beyond self-actualization. They went to something
Mm.
else. So what
Yeah.
is that something else then? If your model doesn't account for it, your model is limited. And all the model, whichever model you look at, they ultimately culminate in that full self-realization
Mm.
of I am that pure awareness. There is nothing else but that awareness, which is God. So you realize that I am God. I am that transcendent awareness or self, and then I become capital self-realized when I understand that and I know that experientially rather than just as a concept.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll get into more of this. And as we go in the program as well, look at all these models and then it starts to make a lot of sense. You go, it's actually all the same thing. They're all teaching the
Yeah.
same thing. It's
Yes.
just in a different way. It's framed in a different way. It's a different
Yeah.
model. But whether it's you come at it through Maslow or you look at another model like David Hawkins's
Oh, yeah.
for the consciousness,
Yeah.
or whether you look at it through the
Mm.
integral model lens or spiral dynamics, or whatever system or model you look at, it's going to lead you to the same conclusion
Mm.
eventually
Mm.
if it's an authentic model. So it's all saying the same thing.
Mm.
It's one truth. Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, same thing. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
That was what Joseph Campbell said. He said it's all the same thing. It's one story, irrespective of which culture, which
Mm.
tradition. It's the same story.
Mm.
Everyone is trying to transcend their ego and discover who they really are. That's
Mm.
the fundamental purpose and meaning of life. Okay, so then the more you live with your distorted versions, just read that last paragraph. I think is it Elaine's turn?
Yeah. The more you live with your distorted versions of people and things around you, the more certain you will feel that it is the only true picture of the world. Thus, you build up a warped picture of yourself and the people and situations in your world, for your mind is such that whatever it believes is true produces feedback that continually reinforces and molds your perceptions. It is only when you become free of your addictive programming that you can perceive how things really interact in your world.
Mm.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Mm.
Yes, well, yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. So whatever you believe is what you will then just get um
Yeah. And then, of
more
course,
like.
that
Yeah.
reinforces your belief.
Yeah.
You get a
Yes.
feedback loop saying,
Yeah.
okay, that is the way reality is because you believed
Yeah.
it. You get the results. Then
That's
your
right.
mind says, oh, look, there you see, everyone does behave like that. Everyone is mean or everyone is nasty. I can't
Yeah.
trust the world. Okay, so now the belief is reinforced.
Yeah.
And then, the more contracted and narrow that belief system gets,
Mm.
the more imprisoning it is.
Yeah.
And if you've done that all your life, it becomes very, very difficult to free yourself from the mental bondage that you've created
Mm.
for yourself.
Mm.
Why it's a good idea to start this kind of thing, as early as possible. But wherever you are, that's where you are. Start it now.
Mm.
Um, that's the only time you ever have.
Mm.
Is to do it now. So nothing new. He's not saying anything new, but I like the way he's framed it, and I like the way he structured it into pathways. So you start with these foundations. Forget higher awareness and that transcendent awareness if you still have consciousness dominating addictions. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to do the basics and the fun, lay the foundation first, and start cleaning your mind of all this before you can attain transcendent states of awareness like samadhi and revelation and even miracles and flow and stuff. Okay, so that leaves us to the third pathway. Let's see if we can wrap this up in 10 minutes. I'm supposed to be somewhere at 5, but I'll extend that by 10 minutes or so. Just want to finish this. So third pathway, Archie, if you can read that in the bold.
Yeah, so I welcome the opportunity, even if painful, that my moment by moment experience offers me to become aware of the addictions I must reprogram to be liberated from my robot-like emotional patterns.
So I welcome it in. I'm not resisting it anymore. This is, again, Course in Miracles 101. Welcome it in. It's there to show you your ego and help you to forgive or release it. That's what anything is happening that's happening, especially the things that are so-called negative. That's what it's for. So when it's painful, welcome it. Say, okay, this is triggering my ego. This is exactly what I need to experience because it's going to help me to let go of part of this awful self-concept that's now manifesting in the pain. That's now responding in pain, in a painful way to this trigger. And then you go, okay, I see the program and I must let this go. And that helps you to deprogram yourself and undo the ego. Because the ego is just made up of these programs. That's all it is. A bunch of programs bunched together in what seems to be some kind of self, but it's not really. It's just a bunch of programs that kind of patch together. And it's a very, very broken program, very dysfunctional. But that program is what causes all the pain in your life. It's not the situations that cause the pain. It's the programming that causes the pain. Your reaction to those situations that causes the pain. If you weren't bothered, then it would cause you no pain. Even if you're in physical pain, it's just a sensation. So what's the problem? There's no problem if you don't interpret it as a problem. Okay, so next one, Elaine, if you can read number 2, how do you spot your addictions?
How do you spot your addictions? It's easy. You just notice the desires and expectations that you use to make yourself feel upset in various life situations. By tuning into your moment-by-moment stream of awareness, you discover the addictions that make you feel worried, anxious, resentful, frustrated, afraid, angry, bored, etc. In this way, you use every uncomfortable emotion as an opportunity for expanding your awareness.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Yeah. Noticing. Yeah, just awareness.
Yeah, you notice. So the thing with breathing is you start noticing more, right? It tunes you in. You start observing the breath. You start noticing what's going on internally, your thoughts, your emotions. Most people aren't aware, so they don't notice. It's like these things happen, the program happens, and then I'm getting anxious, I'm getting excited, I'm getting whatever, and I just react. Breathing pauses, it creates a gap between stimulus and response. And in that pause, you start to be able to have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the gap, I now don't have to just do what I normally do. I can pause and I can change my mind and I can change my behavior. I don't have to, let's say you're addicted to a substance. I don't have to reach for that substance now. Even though there's an urge to, I've got a little pause. I can observe that urge, that desire arising, and I can make another choice. I can say, no, I'm just going to let that go and I'll focus my breath instead.
Yeah.
So the gap between stimulus and response creates the opportunity for a different choice to be made, which you can then use. But if there's no gap, then you're just going to be like stimulus, response, done deal. And of course, that's where the ego wants to keep you. Very reactive, no gap between stimulus and response. So it doesn't want you to practice breath work and meditation and these things that create the gap, because then it knows that you can make a choice against it to undo it in that gap. which is why it has all the resistance it does to mindfulness practices and meditation and so on. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
This is a really pernicious, unhealthy program that controls most people's minds, and it doesn't want to let them go. But it can be undone with enough willingness and intent and practice. That's the miracle. And that's fortunately we have that capacity. Otherwise, we'd just be slaves, and there'd be no, none of this would even exist. But it exists because there is a way out. There is a way out of the prison of the ego. Okay, and then Archie, last paragraph. Can you take us home with that?
Yep, so everyone and everything around you is your teacher. If your washing machine won't work, you are being checked on your ability to peacefully accept the apparently unacceptable. If you are addicted to your appliances always working, you will suffer. If you prefer them to operate well, you will not compound your problem by superimposing your uncomfortable emotions on the here and now reality of repairing them. That's so interesting. I've got a situation at the moment where I have no hot water. So it's
Yeah, and isn't it
hence,
just the
hence
perfect teaching?
it is the perfect teaching.
And then this comes in, and you're like, okay, well, there you go. Why am I reading this paragraph? And because I've got a situation that's exactly what's been described, and I can apply
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
So rather than resisting and going, oh, this is terrible, why is it happening? My mind gets involved, you go, okay. So I'm being checked on my ability to let go in the
Yeah.
situation and accept the apparently unacceptable and find peace irrespective. And then you know what? When you do that, you'll find that often the problem resolves.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, but that's how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Somehow you'll be guided. Something comes in and you go, okay, well, maybe I need to do that or call this person,
Yeah.
or maybe it just resolves.
Yeah.
Suddenly the problem's fixed, or the repairman comes on time and he fixes it all. And because you're released, you see how the ego works, wants to keep the problem intact so that you can have that negative emotional reaction.
Yeah.
So it wants to maintain the problems, not solve them, because it likes the emotional reaction because that makes you more separate.
Yeah.
Which is why it's very bad at solving problems, because it actually wants to keep the problems. But it tells you it wants to solve, but doesn't really want to solve them. So now you're going to listen to that, which is evidently insane and works against itself all the time. Or you're going to go, no, 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 I'm done with that. I'm not listening to that voice, because that's just a liar and a deceiver. It's never going to work. The only way is to start listening to this higher voice, which is of course called the Holy Spirit, just saying, okay, these are the principles, these are the practices, this is how I'm going to help you to let go of all this angst and negativity and pain and misery and suffering, and I'll help you to live in a happy, flowing, loving way that is the best you can do while you're here. It's still not a reality, but you're starting to at least get access to reality. You're starting to glimpse reality and bring it into your experience, so that you're starting to learn it while you're here. Because you can't expect suddenly just to go into heaven the moment you die. If you haven't learned any of this, it's not going to happen. Your state of mind is still very negative, very separated. So you start learning this in your daily life, and dealing with all the very practical, mundane things like your washing machine doesn't work and you've got to get it fixed, and you don't have hot water, and so on and so on. Actually, that is your spiritual practice for the day.
Yeah.
And that's why miracles are so important in your life, because it's those little things, those choices you make in those situations, that then help you to both deal functionally with whatever you're dealing with in your life, but also awaken. So, it doesn't, some people say, oh, this is very, very practical. No, this is the most practical course you can find, because it's going to help you to let go of all of the difficulties and the resistance that you have to all these little triggers in your daily life, and find a nice, smooth flowing way of operating and being that the ego just will never do. You're always going to be in resistance. You're always going to be in some kind of pain, because you got to understand it lives in the pain. It only exists when you're in pain and there's some kind of resistance and so on going on. So it wants to maintain all of that. So it doesn't want you to free you from that ever. So there's really no hope in it. And that's really what Jesus wants you to realize. There's no hope in it. It's not a thought system that's ever going to work. So give it up. Let it go. Stop it. You're just saying, just stop it. It's never going to work. Stop it already, right? And all the teachers and teachings are saying that. So you can see again, that the stream of this running through. This is another teaching from another teacher from a different era, but it's the same thing.
Mm.
It's just formulated in a different way that can be useful. It can be helpful. Focusing on 3 pathways, getting that foundation, then prepares you for the next 3, which is about being here now. And we'll go into that. We'll do this on Sunday. But in the meantime, I'd recommend keep going with the breathwork practice and read these again, maybe tonight. Just review, because there's a lot of wisdom just in 1.5 pages. If you start integrating that into your life, you will free yourself from any addictions that you have. And we all have, if we're honest, we all have addictions. There's something that triggers you, that pushes your button. So start recognizing that and making the decision to reprogram, to unprogram that from your life, because that's then going to take you on the journey and prepare you for the next pathways, which are all about being in the present moment. You can't be in the present moment if all you want is your fix. Right? Okay, so it's almost 5 o'clock. I need to go. Any other comments, questions? We're all good?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. Thanks for joining, Elaine. And I will see you on Sunday night.
See you on Sunday night?
Yeah, we've got a session happening from, I think we'll start at 6:30.
Yeah.
That's better. Yeah, that's good.
We'll start, I think actually I said 6. Can we start at 6?
6 is okay on
6
Sunday.
is okay on Sunday.
Yeah, good for me
So
too.
let's start at 6 then.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So that'll give us at least 3 hours, maybe 4. And just keep practicing in the meantime, using the material I'm sending you.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Namaste.